I didn't recognize that I liked so much stuff from pop culture and everything, and it was all junk. And then at some point I knew it was all junk, so I just threw a lot of stuff away, or I gave it away, or I sold it. And, you know, I was like, oh, cool, great, I have a lot less stuff. And I don't want it back or anything like that. But there's nothing to fill that void, like, unless you like, I found a new hobby or obsession or something. But if you don't, you just have space. Space in your life. You know, that's me recording this video, you know. I have this. As opposed to, you know, whatever it is. Like, I can pipe TV and I can watch old DVDs. I have physical media. I have discs and stuff like that. Thumb drives. So all this is the thumb drive physical media. I have, you know, DVDs and all that stuff, and I have thumb drives full of old things, like old programming days of broadcast day from network PHL 7 in Tennessee or some stuff like that, some shit like that. And I had to correct myself, you know, proper, no, last of the rock on cheers. I don't know if you know what that means, but if you look up raconteur in a dictionary, it just means a guy who tries to fuck your girlfriend. They're creeps. I don't know what's so cool about them. Anyway, oh, what is that behind me? Oh, mine's some kind of YouTube phenomenon video. What is that thing? Wait, it's my dog. You're ruining my Thomas Kincaid. Look at you. This. Yeah, right? It's a Vocaloid. Anyway, now watch it take a shit on camera or something. That'd be great. I don't really want stuff like that, just to be honest with you. But anyway, I don't always want to be in them, so I was like, you know what? This is a kind of a nice scene. They can have. Sometimes I have this, you know, but I'm usually facing that way. But now I was like, I'll give them a shoulder, and you know, some just kind of nice sunlight. Some nice sunlight effects. But yeah, I mean, like, some things I like that are old, like, I'll admit this, in the 1980s, there's a whole bunch of really good movies, if you want to talk about movies and pop culture stuff, which I guess is kind of what I am talking about. Like, I'm like a fan of a thing where it's like, I've always loved Star Wars, Star Trek, Transformers, Starformers, some kind of anime thing. I don't have anything like that. That was my thing that I always collected. I always had to make sure to get the latest Batman mug from 7-Eleven every time a movie came out in the 90s. You know, I don't have enthusiasm for any. I'm just an unallegiant man, you know. Whole life, and when I had friends that were really good friends, they were all like the same type of people. Like, no, I'll just do it alone then, fine, you know. And every now and then, we'll rub elbows. We're like, hey, and like, oh yeah, you're still alive, and then just that's the thing. People that, you know, do your own thing. It's the lone wolf thing. It's a lot of people, though. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's special. It's like a cool dude thing, even. It's a lot of people are like that. It could be a bunch of reasons of something that happened when you were a kid. It was terrible. We don't need to get into that. Okay? There's lots of different types of people, you know? But there's nothing to fill the void. Like, once the wave of whatever's happening in the popular culture passes you, and it has passed me, I am the man without a pop culture. This is how that all happened. When I actually pulled away from the pop culture, like, for a long time, and I'm not going back. Like, every night I'll hear something, I'm like, oh, that's, wow, I can't believe that somebody told me a thing or something. And I'll go, wow, and that's it. I don't think about it anymore. I'm not going to look up anything online. I don't care about a movie or a franchise or anything. I'm a grown man. I don't care about a franchise. Why would I care? What's the franchise? Elvira's Tits? No thanks. They're too old now. I don't care. I don't want to see them. So yes, this world, the world of like, it's like a weird thing. The popular culture sort of unites people because people of all different ages, I don't know how it works now as the world changes, but it seems like everybody will find their way to the same sort of platforms. I guess even old people, and they're like, oh, I watched that show too. It's where he cuts them up with a meat cleaver, and you're like, what the fuck happened to old people? Old people will never watch that shit. I'll never forget too. I was a nurse and I made this guy supper one night, and he's an old man, and I said, what are you watching? And he said American Horror Story, and it was the first season of American Horror Story, so you can date that by whatever year that was. And he had a beautiful house by the lake and everything. And he came out of hospital and needed some things. So I got him his suppers and all that stuff, and I wasn't allowed to touch his pills because I was a different nurse. And I did that stuff for him, and I said, well, what are you watching? And he loved it. He loved American Horror Story. And I thought, this is gross, man. This is so lurid. And I was like a house of people that could get possessed by the demon of Jessica Lange or something. I don't know. I never watched it except when I had to go. When he was watching it, when I made him suppers, so he liked to eat and watch his stories, and his stories were American Horror Story. My grandma used to watch horrible stuff too, but that was like a long time ago. She died quite a while ago, but even the stuff that she would watch or would read, I was like, Grandma, what are you watching? What are you reading this for? She would read like weird science fiction stuff. Like, that's so boring that I wouldn't even be interested in it. So I wonder what kind of woman she was. Probably had a very smart with a deep internal life. Or something. Because the stuff she read was not easy fiction. And I was like, why would my grandmother read all these? But they were all her books. She read like this, what do you call it? Like, hard-edged science fiction fantasy for like brainiacs and shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably just about raping and pillaging in space or something. I don't know. And Asimov just want to have like blue babes with 6 arms and 6 boobs, and he just want to live in the sewers with them in the future of Katonia or something. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's hard to remember. But yeah, there's a lot of like, I watched Heavy Metal the movie. Remember that? It's a movie. It's a cartoon. The whole movie is cartoon short segments animated by different people. But it looks terrible now because you can tell that it was all hand drawn, and I'm like, ugh. Yeah, like all this computer models that people make that they can just make them move around. They look way better than Heavy Metal the movie. And I'm somebody who grew up of the generation of like where you could still get jobs in animation and they still painted cells. Like, you know, so when I see something I can be sentimental about the movie Heavy Metal, and I still think it's good, but it's drawn all weird and stuff. Like, there's different artist styles they use, like Mobius and Bernie Wrightson, and there's all these really cool artists whose styles like Richard Corbin, and they dip into them, and it's good. I liked it, okay? So I saw Heavy Metal and I liked it, but I could appreciate it for what it was. And I also liked it because it was of its time, which was either early 80 or like the end of the 70s. It had to be like 79 or 80 that Heavy Metal came out, or something like that, 1978 or something. But anyway, Heavy Metal the movie came out, and I don't think it was a big hit. But because there wasn't this world of anime and all this outrageousness, for such a long time, Heavy Metal was definitely one of those cult classic movies, because it had violence and gore to like high levels, or so it would seem, for the time. But it also had boobs and stuff. But if you watch it now, it's all gross, and you're like, it just moves weird, and it's too slow, and you're like, God, this looks weird. But I know some people will love it. But I'm somebody that can get with the times, where sometimes if I watch old movies, I'm like, yeah, the pacing of this is just Like, I can appreciate the pacing of old movies, but some old movies, it's just like, yeah, I realize this doesn't hold up for a lot of people, because movies that seem to hold up have something to do, and a lot of times, with, I think, editing style. Because, like, if people have this, like, maybe I want to do this, I guess, because it means faster, like, I don't know, faster edits, or edits in certain, they edit their movies in certain ways. Those movies seem to hold up better, you know, sometimes even if they have cheesy special effects. But I thought Gremlins holds up. I've said it like several times. But then I was talking to people recently, and then somebody who was of the younger generation just recently saw Gremlins, and they couldn't stand it. They're like, I don't like it. And I said, what, the effects were too cheesy? And they were just like, no, it just wasn't any good, and I just couldn't stand it. And I'm like, I wonder, because I thought Gremlins is one of those movies that has the kind of pacing that keeps moving, because those are the movies that seem to last the test of time, and movies where the pacing is just, it has, like, I don't know, like some of those Batman movies, even though they're terrible, whoever directed those Batman movies, like Joel Schumacher and Richard Clooney and all these guys, I think you could still watch those movies even though they're bad, because of something about timing and editing. I'm not going to waste my life watching them, but I bet people still do, you know. I don't know how people watch TV anymore. Everybody tells me about the online services that give you access to everything, so you can just watch stuff off of streaming online. But then I know that there's probably still lots of people, I guess we're talking about TV, that just watch stuff off of TV, like whatever that is. But I really am, like, out of it, so I don't know, like, I'm really the most out of touch I've ever been with, like, popular culture and basic stuff of, like, I heard people, again, like I said, people were talking about TV shows. I had no idea what any of the shows were, who any of the people they were talking about were, and there was, you know, it's not like I was like, oh, I felt so bad I couldn't fit into the conversation. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, like, I just was like, well, what is this, man? Like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm like, yeah, keep going, man. Keep going. And I thought, how will I survive without knowing how people are being programmed by the weird things that they watch? And I was like, no, I think I can figure that out. Oh, shit. Yeah. But I have all this old stuff I used to like. And I looked at, like, I had a lot of art books. I had comics and stuff, not superhero comics, but like French books and translations of things into English, or books that you couldn't get translated, but I just wanted them because the art was so cool. You can get them from, like, you know, import book things online. You can find this cool shit. I mean, I guess you still can, but I don't care about it anymore, so I'm not looking. But I used to be into stuff, and maybe just being younger. I used to be into stuff when I'd seek out, like, what's the cool stuff, and I'd find it, you know, and then you share it to other people, like, hey, check this out. You're like, wow, what is this? And then they'd show you something that you never heard of. And you'd find out that there's, like, a whole world of, like, seeking and finding of, in my case, being an artist, like, art books and prints and weird, like, yeah, the Japanese like that guy a lot, so they did a whole portfolio with him, and you can get that over here. And it was like, it was kind of online, but it was still really like mail order catalog kind of days stuff, transitioning online. So, I mean, like, I remember, like, being able to get animation cells, like, cheap still. Like, they didn't, like, you could just buy them. Like, now they're probably worth a lot of money or something. I don't know about the future of animation cells and value. But you could I just remember going through boxes of those things. And just all these animation cells, like Japanese cartoons that people probably blow their loads over. Like, it's from Macross 7 or something. I don't know what any of that means. But it just, like, you know, like, it was from the original Gundam. I know that's one of them, right? It's from the original Gundam from the 1980s and all that stuff, whatever. There was the actual scene where she's getting raped by the demon, and the demon in Osaka, and she was in Kursaway Port or something like that. And his penis, whatever. So yeah, I used to see all these cells, like, I don't know why I thought of it, but recently I was talking about a cartoon called Mission Hill, and I think that was one of the last cartoons to actually be animated on cells, like, ever. Like, They stopped doing it because computer paint bucket is just easier. It's just easier. It's just obsolete. You don't need to have cell paint people anymore. It just doesn't make any sense. Although it's sad that that doesn't exist. And if you want to see hand cell painted stuff, go watch the movie Heavy Metal, because I did like it, but I think I could imagine the younger generation going, it just doesn't move right. It feels like I'm not moving right. Because when you had to make animation by hand, like, you could, I don't know, it just looks weird, you know. So I can appreciate innovation, and I like animation, but Heavy Metal wasn't an example of like really great animation or anything. It was just about like horror and gore and violence and like cool music, I guess. I don't know. Which soundtrack do you like better? The soundtrack to Rock and Rule or the soundtrack to Heavy Metal the movie? I'm probably going to pick the soundtrack to Rock and Rule, if you know what that is. Rock and Rule. I'll recommend that. That's my like transitioning to furry porn post-apocalyptic movie about a band of animal people. Again, it's post-apocalyptic. A band of animal people trying to make it as post-pop stars. And it's very strange, but it's got a good soundtrack. It's got like Debbie Harry and Lou Reed. And I know they're both weirdos. It's also got, I think his name is Marcus White from, what's the band? Earth, Wind & Fire. And he has a really great, it just sounds like Earth, Wind & Fire song, but it sounds like a hit. And you're like, where's this Earth, Wind & Fire song? Is this on the best of? And I don't know, it might be. But anyway, it's a good song about like trying to trick a girl to dancing with you, saying that that's all you want. But I think he's lying. I think he wants more than just to dance. And yeah, what else? Oh, this movie review, Rock and Rule. Rock and Rule, I don't know if it came out like somewhere between 1980 and 1984 probably. And it's animated pretty well, probably. You know, think about it. I think it's like some kind of weird Canadian thing. And I remember liking it, and I saw it again, and I'm like, yeah, this kind of still holds up. It's weird, and you can see it's all hand-drawn and hand-painted and everything. They don't do that anymore. I think I held cells for that movie in my hand, too. That was probably at the end of the 80s or something. Oh, look, Rock and Rule. And I had to decide if I wanted it or not. I'm like, I don't need this. What do I need a picture from a movie from? The paint just flakes off. Because you have to take care of the animation cells, or the paint comes off. It's just because it dries, it just chips off. Because it was just like whatever shit paint they used. I don't know, whatever they used. I know there's a special kind of paint they used, and I can't remember the name of it. I guess you could call it animation cell paint, but that's a cop-out. That's not the answer I want to give. And they used to paint on acetate, which I think was some kind of like animal skins. I gotta move, my leg fell asleep. Oh, yeah. Ow, it hurts. Ow, 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 ow. Come here if you want me to pet you then. Oh, my foot hurts now. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the animation stuff. I don't know. I think I said something about Mission Hill. People like that. What are you talking about? That Adult Swim fill-in show? Who cares? Yeah, but it was one of the last shows that was animated on cells. That's why I mentioned it, because like, it's one of the last things that they did that way. So I don't know. Maybe it's worth something. But I remember they had a whole bunch of cells for it. I'm like, yeah, this is like the last. I thought I should buy them because I was like, yeah, this is probably like one of the last cartoons animated on cells. So. But I didn't buy any anyway. Because they had a lot of stuff from that show, like backgrounds and everything. And nobody wanted it because the show was a bomb. They only played like 3 or 4 episodes or something. And then it went to Adult Swim. And I liked it, and I was disappointed. I was like, they never made that. I was like, I would have rather watched 9 seasons of Mission Hill than Futurama. I'm not a Futurama fan. I mean, I don't know, Futurama's funny and everything, but I don't know. Again, I don't care about this stuff anymore. I don't know, like, if you showed me a Futurama, would I laugh or care? Could you engage me? It's become hard over the years to engage me to actually watch stuff, you know? Especially if I've seen it already. I don't know, maybe that's what they want people to do, is just always have some kind of noise in their brain and just have them doing tasks. I don't know, I have no idea. Yeah? Come here. I'll scratch you. Come back. You know what I'm talking about. I'll pet you. She's looking right at me, but she's like, I don't know. Did you see the duck behind me? You must have. I heard her walking all around me. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm like an immature person that was like knew about all that stuff of like movies or TV like way too long or something. And now I'm like, no, like a real man would have cared about that stuff a long time ago, like other guys you know that don't know anything about any of the shit you were talking about. And my excuse is, well, I'm an artist, I'm a creative type, I help make those things. And I do, right? No, I used to. And now I don't. So I used to just comment on like, well, I know why they're doing that. Here's why they're doing that. Because I used to work on that. Like I'd talk about movies and TV stuff in my old podcast, and I'd say, oh, I know why they're going to do that. And I would tell you. And now I don't care. Like I left. Like I prefer this. You know what I mean? It's nice. I could put music. I could listen to music too. It'd be great to rail somebody out here. It'd be awesome. Put a blanket down. Oh man, it'd be great. We have to put tick spray on or something maybe. I don't know. It'd be very romantic to rub it all over each other's bodies. Well, the duck caught something to eat. I could hear her mouth going, mmm. You hear that? That's the duck eating. Caught a big one. I'm surprised at this stuff when I lift. If I'm going to move rocks or, you know, like some of the garden beds or whatever, which I've done, the duck knows, and the ducks are there. And I'll just throw big stuff, and they eat it. I don't know how to describe it. It's like big like orange and black cockroach looking things. It don't look like they're scary, like they can bite or anything. Like maybe they can pinch you. But they look like too big for ducks to eat, and they just disappear. It's just like, what's happening? You hear them chomping. And then it's gone. I guess they make that into eggshells, right? Oh, duck eggs. Mmm, yum. So good. Every now and then a duck will have a weird egg. It doesn't happen all the time, just sometimes. There'll be one egg. And it will look like a Christmas ornament. It'll be deformed or something. I don't know what they were doing. They were like, no, I gotta hurry up and shit this egg out. I gotta go eat bugs over there or something. And when the egg comes out and looks like a weird old-fashioned Christmas ornament, like you get, like, you help your grandparents get stuff off their attic for Christmas, and like, be careful, all those made out of hand-blown glass. And you're like, I don't even know what any of those words mean. I'll be careful. Anyway, it's an egg that looks like that. Weird shapes. You know, except it's got goo inside of it instead of the hollow ones that are for Christmas trees that are real ornaments. What am I saying? This is just nonsense. Look. I was gonna say some things and I changed my mind, so I'm not gonna say them. I was like, no, just don't say those things. Yeah, like, there's books I had, and I would go through them. I've been doing this recently. Like, I don't care about this. And movies, like, I packed all those up. I put that to bed a while ago. And I'm out of touch, like way out of touch with movies and TV shows and all that shit. I don't know anything about it. And it just keeps getting deeper. So I'm not gonna keep commenting on stuff that I don't know what's going on, or like, guess what? I heard something about the new Batman Captain America crossover. I never liked those things, but I would talk about them because I'm like, well, here's what they're trying to tell you. Inside the messages of that movie, here's what it's really about. And then, you know, Batman is a military-industrial complex, and so is Tony Stark. They make the weapons for the government, don't you know? That kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. And Now I like this. I like this. Yeah. But a view like that, it's just incomplete. It needs tits in it. It does. I'm not made of stone. I know better. That's what belongs prancing around back there. Mine. Yeah. Dancing around, waiting for me to, I don't know, chase her around or something in the yard. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something silly. Cucumber. She's highly allergic. I'm sorry. That's not funny. I never got that about couples, too. I know I'm just inserting this in here. But there were some couples I'd meet. Like, I met a lot of people over my life. And some people really got off on, like, they tortured each other. Like, they've been together for, like, however many umpteen years. But, like, their whole back and forth in their relationship. I mean, like, I've met people that are resentful under the surface. And they pick at each other. But that's not funny. That's a different thing. This is a couple, like some couples where their thing is, it's lame to me, I don't like it at all, where they're always picking at each other and stuff, and you know, like sort of mini torturing each other and stuff. Before Jimmy Kimmel was doing it to kids with Halloween candy, I remember how the world was, and there were some couples that were like that. They liked to tease each other. That's the word I wanted. They teased each other all the time. I mean, it's one thing to get silly with each other, but it was like some people did it like, it was like, it was their thing, and I don't know, I don't like that shit. I don't know, there's all kinds of people that can annoy you in the world. Like, I remember, like when you're out, when you're with people that, like, have to keep telling things about themselves. Something makes it seem like they have, like, a fabulous life or something. This is before Facebook, before they had any of that, before there's online. You just go out to dinner with people, and they would just talk about stuff, because it was their life, but at the same time, it was just like really trying too hard. Instead of hanging out, they feel like they had to, how do I put it, like justify that they were worthy, or that they were cool people because they did these things, or they took his mother to Greece, or something like that. Or I don't care about any of that, you know. Let's just talk about movies and TV shows. I'm sorry, I thought that was funny. Oh, do you see that bird fly by? Yeah, I got my glasses on. I know you saw them before too, but I figured I'd mention it now. So, yeah, that's another thing I don't really want to do anymore. Well, I know it's different now, but I was never a fan of eating in restaurants. Like, I can make all kinds of different things. Just get ingredients or something. We'll make it something like it. Oh man, it's making me hungry now. I was just thinking of Eddie Murphy joke. He was like, I wanted to get McDonald's. And my mom was like, I'll make you a hamburger. And she'd put pepper in the middle. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want to have like a hamburger with some kind of vegetables in the middle or something. Whatever I got laying around. Some kind of weird hamburger shit with cheese. I'll put cheese on it or something. I got cheese to get rid of. So yeah, as I used to have like a collection of graphic novels and things. I think I said this earlier. And I went through them and I just started tearing shit and like tearing it up, throwing it away. I had all kinds of weird art books and stuff. I'm like, these guys are jagoffs and perverts. Fuck all these guys. I started throwing them away. But I used to have a podcast like this with Mr. McGarbage, where I did several times, which no longer exists, where I would tear up my old DVD collections. Like, here's everything John Waters did. And I'd throw it in a garbage can, and he'd eat it, because Mr. McGarbage was a living garbage can man. And he would just eat anything, like anything you gave him. I love it. Doff, 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 doff. And he would just eat any bullshit you threw it in his throat. And I didn't use him nearly enough. But I know, maybe I could bring him back. I've trashed everything that I own that I need to throw away, for the most part. I'm sure I'll find more shit to throw away. But, I used to make videos about it, which I think was like a cool thing to do. I think they were good videos. I don't know. I'm too hard on myself. I deleted my archives and everything. I keep saying it in episodes lately because, yeah, I don't know why. I guess I've just been referencing my old podcasts. I'm not like pining away for it. It's okay. It can be gone. I don't know. Maybe I'm referring too much about my old podcast as I forge my way ahead with this new yard work, whatever you want to call this. I don't know, I mean, I like to look at views and stuff, so I thought I'd give you this. It's too bad I'm in it, though. I kind of wrecked the whole thing, because if I was out of it... Is the duck there? Where's the duck? Because if I'm out of the view, then it's like some kind of cool lo-fi screensaver or something. Maybe you can just crop out like all this, and then I'm not in it. And you're like, it's still cool. Just get as low as you can so it crops out my shoulder. Or you can just like use edging tool or whatever. I see the bird go. Yeah, it's cool. It's better than TV. And chipmunks. I always mess up between squirrels and chipmunks. Chipmunks. Getting way too confident because I'm out here a lot and I just sit. And since I'm here all the time, they're like, oh, he's just here again. So they just walk up right in front of me and stuff. And I remember a couple of times I closed my eyes for a second, I open them, and right there's a chipmunk looking at me. I'm like, what, are they watching me, wait for me to close my eyes so they can sneak up and hop across me or something? It's so weird. It's kind of fun, though, to do. And, but yeah, they're getting very bold. And I was talking to neighbors, and they said they were having problems with chipmunks specifically, because they're rodents and everything. They make holes. And I made a bed, made an onion bed, and there was this hole dug straight through the middle of the bed, like clear, an obvious hole. And like, what is this? You know, like you could see the way the sun was at the perfect hour or whatever. You could see right down, you know, like pretty far into the hole. And I was like, fuck this, and I stomped it out, and I closed it up and everything. But they'll be fine. I'll just dig it right back again. I'm not kidding. But I was like, it just sucks because I just filled that bed full of onions, and I forgot what it was like to have beds like that. Where I live, if you have deep beds, you also have like rodents. Like, oh, this is like a great place. It's like a little chipmunk, field mouse terrarium or something. And they just do whatever they want. It's a pain in the butt. That's why I had to stop putting bird feeder out. Because this years ago, but I said this story before, but I'll say it again. I had bird feeders, and I watched it create all these problems in my neighborhood of like animals and nature. I created an epidemic of bird conjunctivitis from birds eating old birdseed particles that got ravaged by all the other different birds. I had squirrels coming in, and then other birds would come in as enforcers to get the squirrels out, like blue jays. And there'd be these really nasty fights where smaller birds would go get nuts, and they'd jump down on a squirrel, because the squirrel would come and empty the bird feeder of like everything, just put it all in its mouth and leave. And they're bigger, so then birds came and would get rid of squirrels. But I've seen a lot of squirrels and bird fights in my life. I'm guessing it's a common thing. If I've seen it, a lot of people have seen it. I'm not some kind of, oh, I do everything in nature and that's all my whole shtick or whatever. No, I've just seen it a lot. It's just something about being in the country, I guess. So bird conjunctivitis is where their eyes swell up, and it looks like some kind of weird fungus that like weirdo art school girls like, look, I painted this baby bird, but his eyes have all this weird bumps and lines on it and shit, and it's like creepy and weird, and it's got blood coming out of its mouth. Well, bird conjunctivitis just looks like their eyes are all messed up. They look like weird special effects or something, and it's because they get like an infection from eating like moldy bird seed. And I watched just the chipmunks and birds, and then everybody against the squirrels. I never actually saw chipmunks and squirrels fight, but I did see chipmunks come and the squirrels leave. I mean, I'm sorry, the squirrel come and the chipmunks would leave, because the chipmunk's bigger. Just one chipmunk, and squirrels, they would leave. And the chipmunk would come and just take all the food. And I watched it all through a tinted window that I still have to this day. And I should just set up a camera and just create all that havoc again. I'm kidding, I'm not going to do that. But it was a lot of fun. I would just watch from the window. And other people would watch too. And they're like, oh, that's messed up, man. Because everything would just come and get food to like all kinds of weird birds. And the chipmunks are cool. Because then I had to figure out ways to the chipmunks would fill up their mouths and steal the stuff too. This is very boring, isn't it? The chipmunks would fill up their mouths and steal everything too. but not like the way that the squirrel would. The squirrel's just like thud in there, like thunk. So I moved the bird. I kept moving the bird feeders to places where birds could get them, but then the squirrels and the chipmunks still would find a way to like leap over to them and hop off, and then just it was an easy way. It was easy to just get away, take all their take all the food. I'm like, who am I feeding? And then when the birds got sick eyes, I'm like, right away I knew something was up. I'm like, this because of bird seed or something. So I looked up bird sick eyes or something. It came up right away, like in a Google search or some shit like that. And it was exactly what I saw in the yard, like robins with the weird, messed up like bed eyes or something. Like, God, they got, you know, like weird crusty eyes, like they look like Ren and Stimpy gross cartoon scenes or something. Yeah, so then I took away the bird feeder. But I have two little ones now that every now and then, I don't do it now because there's so much food everywhere. But I mean, like in nature for the animals just to have. But when it gets cold in the winter and there's not much of anything, I put bird seed out and it always gets eaten. That's usually in the winter. It's like the coldest times. Because I'll hear birds, they know that there's animals and shit out, so I'll put it out. But it usually gets eaten by finches and stuff, because squirrels and chipmunks or whatever, like, I don't know, I don't see them taking it. Very interesting, right? I don't see deer or anything in here because of the fence. And I also have like, on the other side of the fence, there's all kinds of thorns and briars, which I don't think would stop deer or animals or whatever. But it's got to be some degree of deterrent because it is all stickery, thorny things that are a pain in the ass. And deer can jump really high though. Then I have Rose of Sharon for a fence line. I have actual fence line. So I don't really like, I've never come out here and I'm like, oh, look at the deer or anything. But I don't really want that, you know? I'm trying to think of what I have seen out here though. Not here in anything you can see here. But I know that there's bears around. I know that there's foxes for sure. I don't know what other varmints are. There's skunks definitely because you can smell them. Coyotes because I've seen them. Bears because they left poppers in the garbage can. Something knocked over garbage recently, and it's not house cats because they would just get in these garbage cans. They're big enough. They would just get in there and they would take food. Something pulled over garbage cans. Like more than one night. I'm like, what's the hell? What's this? Yeah, mark your territory. And I always make sure that I urinate. I never go to the bathroom. I just fill jugs full of urine, and when they're full, I dump them around all the borders. Just to let them know, stay out. It's mine. I already know I've seen groundhogs. Oh, that's the other one. Not in this yard, though, because the dog has killed them for so many years. They kind of just don't come around the yard. But I saw a baby rabbit. So I was putting duck feed out. And I was like, that's a baby rabbit. I couldn't tell at first if it was a groundhog or a baby rabbit, but it was a baby rabbit. And a crane. There's a crane that lives around here. Because I see it flying. There's ponds. And I see it flying from the ponds, and it comes overhead, and I'm like, it's a blue heron. That's the type of crane it is. It's got all the markings and stuff. It's big. I didn't think they were that big. It's pretty big. I'm guessing it's a male. I don't know what's bigger in the birds, the males or the females. Who cares? But anyway, as opposed to whatever it is that you know about, like what's happening to movies, whatever they did to take away the claws from Black Panther, or whatever they did, they're going to put Batman in a leather jumpsuit or something like that and make him dance. I don't know about that, okay? All the more stuff they did to Star Wars, I don't care. I don't care. I never liked those things anyway. But I did have a lot of stuff that I did like, and I started letting it all go. And now it's just like an avalanche of like, yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. But it's weird because I didn't realize how much of my time was like, yeah, you know, like, maybe I'll put this movie on, or, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what it was that I used to do online. But I'd always like do chores and tasks of things that I have to do at home, and then always be listening to something. But now I'm just kind of like doing the thing without listening to... I just don't care anymore what anybody has to say. Like, I don't care about podcasts. None of that shit. Like, I just don't care what anybody fucking... You know what I mean? I just got old, so I don't admire anybody anymore. And I never did when I was younger. But I guess when you're younger, you watch older people that are smarter than you do. Like, I'll watch these older guys do comedy, and they're really good and stuff. And now I'm old, and I don't like anybody. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care about podcasts. I used to listen to them all the time. That's why I say that. And lots of people still do. And now, like, I know enough about plants and everything. I'm not watching like podcast advice for gardening tips and shit. I have all the permaculture books. I've been doing that stuff for years. Probably since like 2007 I've been messing around with all that junk. I still have this huge vase full of, well, I mean, it's pretty big, of Rosa Sharons, and it's all turning green now. And I'm like, I don't know where I even want to put them. And then all this grass, which I thought was going to be dead, I didn't think it was going to make it. It took his yard, because it's growing and it's green and it didn't keep dying, except for a couple spots where I didn't like put it in the ground right. But it's so minimal, I couldn't believe how it worked. I thought my stevia plants were dead, and they came back and they're thriving. There's like three ones. I got to transplant them soon because they're getting, like, they need bigger planters. I have a whole bunch of food. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think I'm going to start a stand and put it up, like, I don't know, I'll give them to somebody else. Tell them they can sell them. I have all these sunflowers. So, I don't know, what do you sell, like $1 sunflower? I don't know. I started them from sprouts, from seeds. I have so much. I could keep doing them. I could keep growing sunflower seeds all summer until like it's too late in the season or something like that to start them. But I have all this stuff growing in seed trays, and it occurred to me, I planted all my beds and everything's established. I'm like, where am I going to put all this stuff? So I'll find ways to grow it and stuff. But I have all this food growing, and I know I'm going to give some of it away, because I already know who to and everything, because they're all into gardening and stuff and all. I'll give that to them. But then I have a bunch of stuff. I'm like, man, I could just be like the sunflower seed man this summer, because it's so easy. You just take a single sunflower seed, because I have like so many of them. You just take it and you get it wet, and it like pops in a couple of days. And I don't know, sunflowers can be pretty cool. You can get a lot of food out of them, I guess. I don't know. Makes a lot more sunflowers. If you have one head from one big sunflower seed, that's a lot more sunflowers. I used to save them every year. That's what I plan on doing this year. I would grow them and save the seed, and then use that for seed next year. And then sometimes I'd buy sunflowers from other people that grew them, like farmers and stuff locally. And then I would just dry those seeds out too, and then use those seeds for different kind of sunflowers, because there's all different kinds of seeds. But I don't know. I don't want to get talking into seeds and stuff like that. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel dumb, and sometimes I'm like, well, I know more than a lot of people have ever thought about all that stuff. Just because I'm not like the best gardener doesn't mean that I don't actually kind of know a lot about it, because I do. There's a woodpecker down there. There's old dead trees down there. And sometimes in the morning it sounds really cool. It sounds like Predator, because there's other birds that make weird noises. And then when a woodpecker makes it sounds like the movie Predator. Not that that'd be cool. I'd hate to live someplace where the crabmen were hunting people. Doesn't it seem like crabmen would be more like demons from the swamp than aliens from outer space? Like the curse of the crabmen. And it's like Pumpkinhead or something. Or it's like some kind of voodoo curse you put on somebody. I'm gonna get the predator's gonna come get you. And what's that? And like, oh, it's a crab man. It's like these Rastafarian crabman demons that come out of the swamp. And they're like, yeah, and they have laser-sighted cannons and shit. Like, that's fucked up. And like, yeah, they're demons from hell. They have the latest tech. It's crazy, man. Why don't they just do that? Like, why don't they just... They will. I'm sure there's some kind of video game already that just, like, combines demons with, like, demons that were given laser cannons to fight against the police force and space demon precinct or whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up now. But there's just so many things. There's so many things that have been made into games and movies and stories. Like, there's so much. Like, I think sometimes we forget how much has been made. Like, there's been so much stuff made. Like, even in my lifetime, I've seen just on the periphery of stuff other people were into. I've seen so much cool stuff that I can't remember the names of that somebody else liked. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can never remember the name of that thing. It was so cool. I should have found out about it or something. And then years later you find out what it is and you're like, oh yeah, like, I don't care anymore. I'm old. But like, there's like most of the world, like there's a lot of people alive who like they never grew up with video games. Like, they're old now. But like, there's a lot of people who grew up like they never had that stuff. So now there's people who are adults who are all into video games and all these other worlds and online shit. And I've pulled away from all that stuff, like, in a huge way. It's even affected my money. I mean, I gotta do something about that. But I did let him, like, I'll dial it back a little bit. And I like that. I don't want to dive back in anymore. I'm like, I don't want to know. It's different. It's a different era of entertainment now. Like, there was stuff that happened in the past and people can look upon that quaintly because it was quaint. Now we are in like a different world of what our media is. And I'm like, I'm out. And I know there's maybe some new great material that up and comers are making and putting on YouTube and people love it and everybody's allowed to see it. It's really great stuff. I have no idea what that would be, and I'd be suspect that they're, officially licensed and approved by somebody that's trying to sell you something. So, I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. I'm not putting my head in the sand in life. I know about the world and what's happening around me, but at the same time, I don't have a Netflix. None of those things. They were trying to explain to me Roku. And they did. They explained to me Roku very thoroughly, very directly. And whatever they said, it's all gone. It's gone. I don't remember any of it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do anything. That's something where if I'm ever paired up with somebody and they want to watch TV, I'm like, I would only know about that stuff because they insisted. But I'm too old. I can't imagine shacking up with anybody how I am. But that would be like the only way. Like, if I had to live with somebody else and it was like, no, I want to have TV or something, and they had that, and they'd probably just try and get as far away from that as much as possible. I'll build a shed to live in or something. I'll extend the tool shed, put a bunk in there for me. I should do that anyway. I should put like a bunk. I have a hammock. I should put the hammock in the tool shed. It'd be a great place to collect rat turds. Mouse turds, sorry, don't have rats. Little nice shits. It'd be great. Chipmunk turds, whatever. What do you think, Ducky? Are you coming into frame yet? Where are you? No, the duck's managing to stay perfectly out of frame, which is like almost right on me. It smells like camping. Somebody in the surrounding area is burning something and it smells great. It reminds me of camping. Camping was great. They'd stick these 4 stakes in the ground and they'd put a metal sheet on top of that because they had like pegs coming out of the metal stakes that would hold racks. And then they would just put, I don't know, oil, probably vegetable oil or some poison on there, corn oil or some shit. And they'd pour that on. And then would add eggs, bacon, because then the bacon grease would help cook other things. So I put the bacon and toast and all that to make toast on there, and eggs and everything for breakfast. And sometimes people would have slices of ham, some shit like that, something fancy, or hamburgers left over, hot dogs still you can have for breakfast, omelets. You want cheese in there? Oh, it was so nice. Camping, everybody would leave everything to go into the woods to live inside shitty, cold, damp things with bugs and mosquitoes, and some people had allergies and all these kinds of things, and they were allergic to pollen. And it was all just about like making meals around fire, basically. And that was enough for people to just do it over and over again for, I don't know, probably most of my childhood. I think I zoned out when I became a teenager, and I'm like, I don't have to do that. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck pussy in the living room or something. So then I wouldn't. I shouldn't have said it like that. So then, I'm not going camping. Yeah, we're gonna be here. Yeah, and you know, just some kind of disgusting fornication. Fair enough. Yeah, that's what we did. Fucking parents' houses. There wasn't a lot to do in the olden days. There's no internet. We became families. We got jobs. I didn't do anything right. That's what they did. They did it right. What are you doing? Oh, the duck's drinking out of the dog's water thing. It's weird. I was afraid that they wouldn't like each other, and now it's like they'll I don't know why, they'll just sit right next to each other. I'm like, why do you sit next to each other? I don't know. Cool. I guess it's just a lonely when you make your animals lonely and weirdly neurotic in the same way that you are, so they get along great. That's what I heard about people and their pets. That people make their pets as neurotic as they are. Somebody said that to me, and I just threw their book in the garbage. I threw 2 of their books in the garbage today. Anyway, they'd be glad I did that. They'd be glad I threw their books away. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not. I mean, like, they would be glad that I did that. I wasn't joking about that. So yeah, even today I threw away. I recognized. I just remembered I threw away a bunch of garbage today. Yeah, there's like a chore, like this titanic chore. It's like basically just one day that I don't want to devote. But one day, when we don't have like a hot overhead or whatever in the middle of the day or whatever, I have to clean out my garage. Because it's not even full of stuff. It's just, I'm not even going to explain it. It's just disorganized. So if I just take everything out, I'll probably sweep the floor, to be honest with you. And then when I put everything back in, it's going to be great, and it's going to basically be empty. But I just let it be like, I don't care. I just throw shit in. So I let it become a mess. So if I just take one day to do that, and it won't even take all day probably. It'd probably take all day. But if I would just take the day to do that, then it's done forever, like forever. And I have put it off since before spring. I've done so many other things. And of course some things are timely, like it's gardening, I need to do all these things. They gotta be done when they gotta be done. You can't mess around with that. But other stuff like the shed, or the garage rather, whatever you want to call it, I could have cleaned out a long time ago. Because I know somebody that wants to take a whole bunch of their junk and put it in there. And they'll be able to if I clean it up. And they've been waiting a long time. So I know it's not that urgent. Yeah, see, did you hear that? It sounds like Predator to me. That's the woodpecker. I just heard it. It might actually show up in the background of this. It has pretty good audio on this camera. Come on, Predator. It's just a woodpecker on dead trees. And woodpeckers look neat too. They do have like a weird funny red head with the hair coming off the back. I guess they kind of look like Woody Woodpecker, if you know who he is. I know Brazil knows who Woody Woodpecker is. They love him. I'm an older kid. I used to watch Woody Woodpecker. I know that I know those cartoons. Buzz Buzzard, Woody Woodpecker had like a little girlfriend that looked like him. That's the cartoon thing, right? Hey, give him a girlfriend that looks like him. I don't know. That's what they did. Look at them all. They're all like little couples like that. Minnie and Mouse and Mickey Mouse are the same. Donald Duck and Daisy Duck. And this Goofy have a woman that looks like him. I don't know. He married the Red Hot Riding Hood. I'm not sure. I don't know. You know what I mean. They'll have like all Ninja Turtles look the same. Whatever. Fuck. I think I'm gonna go. This is cool, right? I wanted to hang out. I wanted to talk about like me somehow like being a grown-up adult, but realizing somehow I was like, I may be over exaggerating here, but in some way I'm emotionally immature. But I realized I was way too much invested in movie, TV stuff longer than I ever should have been, and I gave the excuse as me being a creative type, which kind of is validated. But also people like that are kind of a little bit soft, and they like all those things. That's where they would do that work, and they want to come up with an idea what would be like a cool show about Ice Cream Man or something stupid like that, you know, like a man made out of ice cream, rather, like a SpongeBob made out of ice cream. That's what we need. We need some kind of like SpongeBob SquarePants, but he's made out of like ice cream cone or something. That's it. You know what? I gotta go right now. I got an idea. A completely unrelated idea. I have an idea for a show about Ice Cream Man. It's a retard. It's just like SpongeBob. Just like it, except he has ice cream. And he'll even kind of look like SpongeBob. He'll be cuter. We'll make him cuter, and then he can always fall over and go splat the side of his head in the sidewalk, and people will laugh. I'm like, oh, he doesn't have to be undersea. And he can be like, oh, it's so hot in here. Oh, I'm melting. You know, like he'll be melting inside his cone and shit, and he gets horny. And he starts to like melt. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff you can do with ice cream. And he lives inside of a refrigerator in Veggie Town or some shit like that. And it's all like people that are annoyed, that are made out of food. And then there'll be funny moments where the outside world can intervene, and people will reach in the refrigerator and grab other people out and eat them. There you go. I gotta work on it. It's a go project. Yeah, I don't know. How's it working for you? I have a couple things I kept. I kept 20th Century 8-Ball because I used to read this comic book in the 90s. I had a subscription to it. It came in the mail. It was called 8-Ball, and it was written by Dan Clowes. And I kept my 20th Century 8-Ball, which was a collection of humorous, funny strips culled from the pages of 8-Ball, and that's a comic book that I kept because I still think some of the things in it are funny, and like the guy's funny drawings, and some of the shit's just weird. And I got rid of a lot of weird stuff too. Like I used to collect like weird things. I just throw that shit away. Like I tore up a lot of weird, like, oh look, here's this weird fucking thing, and I'm like, am I gonna sell this? No, just tear it up. Tore it up, threw it in the fucking garbage. Gone out of here. I did that kind of stuff months ago. But yeah, every now I've been cleaning, so I'm sure I'll find more junk to throw away. Today I threw away a lot of cardboard and organized stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, this won't be so hard to do. I'm talking about cleaning that shed again. I organized a bunch of stuff. I started cleaning it today, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really ready for that yet, but I know it sounds lame, right? It's cleaning shed. You don't know what a mess I made out of it. It's so stupid. It's gonna take like the whole day. I just don't know. I don't know why. It's not a big deal. There's so much harder stuff I've done, or stuff I didn't want to do, and then I was like, I don't want to do this, and I would do the thing, and it would go from bad to worse. I'm like, oh, not only did I not want to do this thing, but now it's gotten even more complicated, and none of these assholes know what they're doing, and it's broken, and it's raining, and my shoes are wet, or whatever you can complain about, and it all's happening wrong. This isn't even that. This is easy. It's just like, the easiest thing in the world. Just take stuff out and put it back in. I don't know. I'm making this boring now. I'm gonna go. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. Things change, people change, seasons change. Don't be surprised if the stuff you used to love, you don't love it no more. Then let go of it. Sell all your collectibles while anybody cares about them if you don't. That would be my advice. Just go and let it fade out.